Now, Boston made a late push for Giannis, but ultimately, Milwaukee's leadership went with Miami's offer. This closed the book on Giannis' tenure in Milwaukee, where he led the Bucks to the NBA title in 2021. And so here is the projected starting five for Miami. Davion Mitchell, Pelle Larsson, Andrew Wiggins, Giannis, and Bam Adebayo. Larson's on the team option for the 2026-27 season. Wiggins got a player option for the 26-27 season. And yeah, Heat shouldn't be done after this massive move. More reaction on Giannis Antetokounmpo going to Miami. We bring in CBS Sports NBA writer Brad Botkin. And Brad, I just want to ask you first, what's your reaction to Giannis' sweepstakes finally being over and him going to Miami and not the Celtics?
First of all, I mean, come on with these midnight call times. I'm having PTSD on the Luka Doncic trade. Giannis is over in Europe. He's just waking up. I had a feeling this was about to go down. It's morning time over where he is. It goes down. He goes to Miami. Miami finally kind of makes good. They're always in these star hunts, and they never come to fruition. Ever since LeBron James and Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh came together for the original Big Three, Miami's name, for whatever reason, I guess they're a go-to franchise. Maybe they don't like they like the not having state taxes here, but to me, I've always sort of wondered why Miami is so desirable outside of the state tax thing, outside of the culture thing, because I still don't think this Miami team is anywhere near a championship contender, but they have landed their star. They wanted Damian Lillard. They wanted Donovan Mitchell. They're in the rumors for all these guys all the time. They finally get one to go their way. I'll be very interested in the additional reporting that we're sure to get subsequently on this in the coming days of why that Boston package was ultimately turned down. What do the Bucks think they could have or could not have flipped Jaylen Brown for, and where does that leave the Celtics and Jaylen Brown? Are there additional moves there? Have they burned that bridge and they still have to move him? There's still a lot of questions in the air. But look, at the end of the day, the Heat get their guy. They get him for a package. Some nice players, but you can't pile up nice players and come up with equal value for a Giannis Antetokounmpo. These guys just aren't quite getting the value anymore that they used to get. I think Milwaukee waited a little bit too long to pull the trigger, and I think your bottom line left with a decent deal. You get some Miami picks that are probably going to be in the late, 18, 19, 20s. They plan on being a playoff team. They're not going to be high lottery picks. You get some decent players. Jaime Jaquez had a bounce back year last year. But I don't think the Bucks did tremendous here, and I still don't think Miami is a legit contender until we see what else they do with the roster.
Why not, Brad? Why can't they be a contender right now as currently constructed? Break it down for us.
Well, first of all, there's just better teams. I mean, right now, the Pacers are going to be better than them next year. Obviously, the Knicks are better than them. We'll see what Boston does with Jaylen Brown. We'll see how Detroit fills out their roster in terms of adding some secondary scoring to Cade Cunningham. But this just doesn't put them over the top. The first question I have is spacing. I mean, they're going to be running out Bam Adebayo, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and there was a lot of wind behind the rumor that if Boston got him, then that maybe they would make another move for Naz Reid. I don't know if that was going to happen, but to not have a shooting center, and Bam has stretched his floor game to a pretty significant degree. He can shoot from three now, but he's still not a shooter. And so putting him alongside a non-shooting center for all intents and purposes and a non-shooting point guard in Davion Mitchell, the spacing is just really, really cramped. That's right off the bat. And so, defensively, they should be pretty good. Giannis isn't quite the defender that he used to be, but certainly putting his length alongside Adebayo makes them very versatile, very long. But offensively, I still just think this team does not have the spacing or the shooting right now to be a realistic threat in the Eastern Conference. We'll see what they do. They should have the ability to keep Norman Powell. He'll help. He's a knockdown shooter. But that's my first instinct right now. I look at that starting lineup that you guys put up for the graphic, and it's very difficult to play Giannis. That's why Brook Lopez was in Milwaukee. That's why they signed Miles Turner. You need to have a shooting center to be able to play that 4-5 combo with Giannis and be able to stretch the floor so he can have driving lanes. That's going to be tough to do alongside Bam to say nothing of a point guard in Davion Mitchell, who's also a non-shooter.
Yeah, not a whole lot of shooters on that team, so you have to imagine that Pat Riley, this Miami front office, they're going to be making more moves. If you were in the front office for Miami, Brad, who would you be targeting to help alleviate some of those issues when you talk about getting more spacing and somebody that's able to stretch the floor?
Yeah, they're going to be crunching the numbers right now because now they're about to have two max guys. They're going to have to end up, if they want to keep Norman Powell, who's their best shooter by far and away, if Wiggins picks up his player option, they're going to have to start crunching numbers and finding shooters on the margins here. They're not going to go out and get a Trey Murphy or somebody like that where we're hearing all these other teams targeting. They're going to have to start looking for guys like the Knicks picking up Landry Shamet. They're going to have to start looking to the margins to fill this team out with as much shoot because here's what they've added. They've added rim pressure. They have added the best rim pressure player probably still in the league. They've added defensive versatility. They should be a very strong defensive team. It's all about shooting right now. Giannis teams have to have shooting around him in those teams in Milwaukee where he won the title. You're putting Chris Middleton around him. You're putting Pat Connaughton. You're putting all guys around him that can shoot the basketball and space the floor properly. Right now, whoever it is, and it's going to have to be more margin guys, Miami is out there now hunting shooters. That's all they're looking for now.
Yeah, that's all they're looking for, and that's all right. They should be looking for. On the topic of Giannis, though, Brad, he only played in 36 games last season, right? He missed 45 games due to that calf injury. Do you feel like that was a product of him just getting older and him on potentially, on the downward trend, or that was just a one-off and he's going to be durable because he has played consistently before this past year where he's been available? But do you feel like this is something that we should monitor, or is just a one-off?
It's nobody can say, but it's a risk. Put it this way, when the Warriors go sign a Jimmy Butler, or we're going to hear teams talking about Kawhi Leonard if he leaves the Clippers. I mean, you have to ask these questions. And when you get a guy on the other side of 30, and they're going to sign him to a huge max contract, so they're going to have him for 4 more years, and you start getting into the mid-30s range, it's something that it would be irresponsible to think that you're going to have Giannis Antetokounmpo at full health for full seasons. This now officially becomes, I don't want to use the term load management, but it becomes a management situation. Every team in the NBA now, it is an unfortunate reality. The Oklahoma City Thunder might have been in the finals and defending their championship if A.J. Mitchell and Jalen Williams don't go down. Basically, the Knicks were a really good team who stayed healthy. That's the bottom line. And at the end of the day, do the Heat feel like you have to play the card? You got to go get the player, get the talent. They got that. Like I said, they got margin moves to make with shooting, so they have proper spacing. But once you do that, once you get the guy, you start crossing your fingers. The Warriors thought that they were in great position when they got Jimmy Butler, and they were looking great down the stretch. 2 years ago, they're in the playoffs. They might be in the conference finals. Then Butler goes down. Then Steph Curry goes down. Look at the Lakers last year. They're making a run down the end of the regular season. This is going to be a contender. Austin Reeves goes down. Luka Doncic goes down. You can't plan for it. You can't say, I know, or this is going to happen or not going to happen. You just cross